All right, Coach, if you just want to open up with some comments on how fall's been, and then we'll take questions.
Yeah, we're wrapping up our fall practice and preparation for the 26 season. It's been great competition. Seen some growth in some areas. I think the biggest thing for me is we've outlined some things that if we can do this, we feel like we can, be competitive. And if we don't, we feel like we absolutely will have some challenges. But nonetheless, it's been good leadership with, losing especially 11 guys to professional baseball last year. I've been pleased with the returning pitchers that had innings last year, the addition of folks. We just played at Kennesaw State in a fall scrimmage, and the entire second game was by all first-year pitchers that did a really nice job. All those big offensive holes and that leadership, we've swung the bats competitively. I think it's been advertised, we've been behind the scenes for most of the fall, but we've got to solidify our defense. Getting Eric Guevara back after not being there at the end of the year and surgery, getting Blue back in the center field. You start talking about that might be a shortstop, that might be your center fielder. How big is that? You want to be strong in those spots, and we've continued to be. The other one is catcher, and Freilich is just what he did last year and how he's continuing to try to grow as a ball player and as a catcher. Can we solidify ourselves up the middle? So our defense needs to strengthen. We feel like we swung the bats well. Got some guys we really invested in early last year on the mound. Hopefully they can continue to grow, and I am positive about the pieces that we had brought in on the mound to try to make us stronger. But there's some things we've outlined for this team that they need to do in order to have success. We've talked about the leadoff man ad nauseum, but we picked that out as our one biggest feature. 10 of our 13 runs at Kennesaw the other day were via getting the leadoff man on 8 of the 14 innings. So that's held true for us. The pitching, we keep talking about percentages, strike percentages not being where we want to. One thing after playing Kennesaw, and I think our ratio was like 19/3 strikeout to walks. They did a nice job. We only threw 7 guys. We kind of made guys earn it. I think that was positive because that gave us a roadmap of like everybody's been playing, and then we select the group that has shoved it in the strike zone the most and rewarded for that. And I think part of that reward is for everybody that didn't get in there to get a chance this week in our Fall World Series to wrap up and chase that. We gave ourselves something to chase, and we put a good body of work out there. But we're going to have that. And to the pitcher's credit or defense, I always talk about practice for the coaches, games for the players, and we've done a TrackMan basically strike zone for the entire fall, and I think it's tougher, more challenging than a real strike zone. So we are seeing benefit whenever we have real umpires, and we kind of think that's good. We think the practice should be a little more challenging and harder, and the game should be easier. I think it's a coaching misstep if practices are easier and then we get to competition and our schedule starts and the strike zone gets more difficult. So even though it's kind of challenging to meet the percentage like we have with our pitching staff this fall, I think when we got to play the other day and have real umpires, I think the guys can kind of see like, man, this is training, and it's harder training than a game. And so that made us feel good. But this is our last week, and then the guys will do evaluations. We'll do end of fall meetings, try to get all that done before Christmas break. I think next Wednesday's our last day. And then the guys will finish class, head home for a week, come back, finish our classes, exams, and go home. And then we can reconvene Division I baseball on January the 12th. I think school starts the 7th. We'll open the field for a few days, and then we'll get right to it. It's different than having the 4-on-1 stuff in the past traditionally, and then having that start date, 3 Fridays out from the beginning of season. Coaches and teams are going to get to do what they want to do in a full 20-hour segment beginning January the 12th instead of waiting to 3 weeks prior to the season. So just want to see us compete for one more week. We're going to play 4 games this week, 5 innings, shorter games each day, but adding a 4th game, an extra game, will allow us to, get us 8 starters out there for one more outing as opposed to 6 with the 3-game series.
Questions?
But I guess with Magical, the injury there, first base has been one where you've had a bunch of different guys. What have you seen out of that position group as that battle continues?
Yeah, too many. And it's something, somebody might play a position for you somewhere else and we started creating an extra segment or period. You look at some other sports that you guys are covering. So we've added an extra period, either pre-practice or in the practice segment. So if somebody's primary position's third base or corner outfield and we're looking at them at first base, we've just added an extra period or extended the individual defense and shifted guys for another 15 minutes there. We don't have the guy now with McMurray leaving and Madrigal's injury, to your point, of somebody that's just been sitting there playing that for years. So we've got to continue to figure that out. And the other goal is when you get back in January, I don't want guys going around playing 5 different positions. We need to figure out, where we're really going to use somebody. So we got to finish this week and then pare that down. I'm good with confusion and chaos in the fall. Actually entertain that. I want that. But not when we get back, not when you got the 5 weeks heading into the season to get ready. So we got to figure that out. Brandon McCrane, somebody that we're super excited about that redshirted last year, is my perfect example. I think he's played every position on the field except for pitcher and catcher. He's that tooled up. We think he's got a chance to really make a difference. But when we get back in January, he don't need to be playing 7 positions. That needs to be pared down. Where we're really going to use him? Is it infield, and what side of the infield? He's pretty athletic to be able to do it, but first base is still important because the first baseman touches the ball so much. And traditionally, like even a third baseman, wherever you put it third, that first baseman is touching the ball, 2.3 times more per game. It's 12-3 on some games of how much a first baseman's touching the ball, and how important is it to play third? Very. But we can't gloss over the first base position, especially if we don't have anybody that has played it routinely, because you impact those other 3 infield positions. I'm talking about the ball in the dirt or the catch radius. We're seeing all that impact of the guys that hadn't played it as much. 2 of our 3 errors that we made in the 14 innings against Kennesaw State was inches. And if a first baseman's played there for years, could we have caught those? Maybe. We didn't really have the video from that scrimmage the other day, but looking at it live, you would think that somebody's played there. So we got work to do there. We got overall infield defense work to do. But we got to keep working. Somebody's got to play first base, and it's an important position defensively.
Who are the candidates besides McCrane?
We played everybody. Gregorio. I don't want it to turn into hot bat situation. Caden Combs, a freshman from Gardendale. Lucas Steele has caught. Freilich done such a nice job. Steele and Gregorio's neck and neck and battling for our number 2 catcher. We'll probably catch Freilich 1 time this week because we know that commodity. Freilich will play first base. This might be an easier answer if we just talked about who hadn't played first base. Todd Clay. But he's played third base all last year at UAB, where he's come from. He needs to get better at third. And if we keep putting him, which he's a viable candidate at first base, whatever's best for our ball club and best for our personnel and our players. But if I spend all my time trying to get him caught at first base and we don't get where we need to at third base, I'm hurting the play. These are all real scenarios that we're trying to play out and figure out, because when we get out here January the 12th, to your point, y'all are bringing up the real questions that where a coach can make an impact. We have to figure out what we want these guys to do, and that's part of our fall evaluation in our meetings next week. Is hey, when you come back, be ready to do this, a percentage of time here, a percentage of time there, or just lighten the load and get them focused in to what we really need them to do. So that's what I'll be thinking about majorly these last 4 games. I need these last 4 days to keep trying to crystallize that, because at some point somebody's got to make a decision where the musical chairs, the music stops, and we got to get guys in position. And we haven't done that yet, but this is the time of the year where that wasn't supposed to be solidified yet. But we've got to start trending in that manner, starting now.
Whether it's a couple guys in the lineup or a couple guys on the mound, just like from last year's roster to what you've seen in the fall. Brandon may be an example of it, but like who have you seen kind of take the biggest jump from last year to this fall, and what have you seen?
Well, Brandon McCrane sticks out like a sore thumb because that was a red shirt. But, you know, he wasn't getting to play, nobody got to see, but the batting practice, the getting settled in to college classes, the whole just finding a routine. He found that in the middle of spring, and I went and watched him personally in Amsterdam, New York, as soon as our season was over, to see him, because you're trying to make decisions on the portal, your own roster, et cetera, and just going and watching him play after seeing how he kept developing in the spring without playing. We just bought into that. So we made a decision. That's why I wanted to go personally to see him in a game this summer, and he's just continued to grow. He's done a nice job with that. Guevara being back, third base, you know, he was the National Player of the Week one time last year, and the third base was so special. That was a huge regret not having him walking in during that season late. But is he going to play third? We feel like we could put him there. Is that best for our team? Because you got like a Todd Clay that we really feel like he can swing the bat and take some of that void that's been left by Irish and McMurray and Snow, etc. So we have to figure that out, if Eric's going to stay at third base or move over to shortstop and open up something for like Clay. Ryan Farber was a player that we put at short. So, you know, you're just looking at the positive is we have multiple options at all these spots. Blue got back and got to play probably 11 innings. That's the most baseball he's played in a while. We've missed him some this fall and there toward the end of last year. Bub's been Bub. Bub missed the Kennesaw series. I expect him back for this last series. Fralick has been as advertised. Him and Rembert are just interested in coming to the ballpark and getting after it every day. So their game's the same, if not growing. But they're just interested in coming and competing every day. So I'm tickled to death. Brandon McCrane's the one that, as a returner, that sticks out like a sore thumb to me. Guevara and Blue back are huge for us. And I would say behind Brandon McCrane, as I march around there, I would say number 2, maybe behind McCrane, has been Bristol Carter. His intention, and it's not fair with him not sitting right beside me right here, but I think first year coming to our league, wanting to playing time, all those things, I think he's just, sometimes 1 year of experience can bury all those hatchets for a guy. The maturity, putting away things you can't control. I say all those things with Bristol Carter right now, and he's just coming out and just playing baseball and letting the chips fall where they may. Because I was laughing with him last week, just using that example, like, I don't even know what the lineup's going to be. So how are you? Can you be worried about stuff you don't have control over? And I have no idea of what this is going to look like. He's had a great, competitive, gritty fall. And whether it be on the bases, swinging it better, just leading, just being a huge, competitive, athletic piece. Brandon McCrane, Bristol Carter have been pretty exciting as far as returners.
You still looking for maybe that number 1 starter, that number 1 closer from this group?
Yeah. I still think they're bunched up. Nobody's jumped out. Maybe one more glimpse here if somebody show a little consistency or do it another time. I know it's hard, but that's what it looks like. It just that number 1, that guy that everybody gets behind. You can't force it either. I just want it to organically happen. Ethan Bingaman jumped out there in the 9th inning the other day, looked the part. You know, when you're mid-90s and you got a real breaking ball. I thought he was 15% better. I have to say that that's always exciting for a coach when you're like, man, I wonder what he's going to do if you put him in that situation. And it's their first time and you get 15% more than you thought where they were able to go and pitch. I mean, those are great signs. Ethan Bingaman did that the other day. the players. I had the whole team sitting in front of us just like this in the Hall of Fame room the other day, and I'm like, who do you want to finish a ball game? And I would say it was a landslide to Garrett Brewer, and we had him finish the second game, and that was exciting. So those are a couple of guys. Hetzler had 8 saves. We didn't have a closer last year. You know, we thought one guy this time of the fall. That's why the fall is not everything. That's why I'm trying to get the leadoff man on. We're trying to throw a strike percentage. We're trying to get a defense to communicate, because all these pieces are going to change again, because this is November. It's not real. But Hetzler gave us 8 saves when we needed somebody to step into the gap. We've trained him as a starter this fall. He very well could be, even though we're auditioning and looking for more help there. We're still waiting on Gatwood, Roberts to come on with the big arms. You know, a couple other guys that threw great. You know, Marciano is a guy that, like, if he, there's enough there, if he threw number 1 for us, I think we'd have a chance to aim for the highest star. The guy that's earned it the most, that's been in the program for 3 years, is Griffin Graves. And that's why he got the ball first the other day, is he absolutely earned it. And it looked like for us, he feels like he picked up where we left off, like throwing in a super regional and giving us those 3-4 innings or whatever he did. He's continued to do that. So a lot of confidence with Griffin Graves right now. Marciano, those are 2 lefties. Waylon, Alvarez, they threw right behind the starters the other day. Those guys are definitely get another start this week. Hetzler, we're going to match him against somebody who looks just like him. We can't ignore LJ Cormier anymore, even though he's a freshman. He threw 75% strikes, albeit for 1 inning. But we asked for guys to do this, and if you do this, this will get you a real opportunity. And all he did was try to, like, define that to the best of his ability, and it was phenomenal. So we'll match him and Hetzler, I think, on Saturday against one another. So I still think until you know exactly who's going to throw a very short roll, if they have a chance to compete for a bigger role, you keep building people out to pitch count, because it's always going to be easier to shorten their pitch count than have somebody. The regrettable thing that's happened in the past is if you train somebody for 30 pitches and then they catch lightning in a bottle and you need them for 75 pitches, you're going to probably have a challenge to do that. So we'll have 8 to 10 guys, 12 guys maybe, that will continue to build out to that 75 pitch count heading into the season. There'll be a couple of group of 1-day long relievers, about 50, and then you'll have that smaller group of 6 or 7 that you're training, you know, for without a shadow of a doubt you're trying to only get an inning, 3 to 6 outs, or 1 time through the lineup, whatever you want to say, and get them to about 30 pitches really sharp, being able to do it multiple days a week.